No. Bam Bam and Chris and I had been friends far preceding the Triple Threat, and had been, from the time I met those guys. I think I met Candido, at least a few years before, and Bam Bam before that. And we'd always had a great relationship, the three of us, between each other and amongst the three of us. And to be honest with you, the time that they both came into the Triple Threat, first Chris was in before Bam Bam, and then Bam Bam came in after Brian Lee left. I don't think I was really aware of how close the two of them were. I knew they were from the same area, but that doesn't really mean any connection. And there was never any attempt by either of them to undermine anything I was trying to do. If anything, they busted their asses in spades to help get the franchise over, to keep feeding into my storylines, like the whole Taz versus Bam Bam angle, the time that Taz would back the Triple Threat down, those sorts of things. Those guys went above and beyond to call it professionalism. And Bam Bam, I got to say, I've never said this publicly before, but, him beating me for the belt, knowing that he would drop the belt back to me, a month or so later in Pittsburgh, it really underscores Bam Bam's professionalism. I've got not a negative thing to say about either guy. They're brothers of mine that I miss deeply. I think the wrestling business misses deeply. Bam Bam was like my big brother. I've said this publicly before, but he, aside from my mother, Bam Bam was the only person that called me by my shoot name, Troy. My ex-wife called me Shane, just because that name was so ubiquitously thrown around. She got into the habit of it because she didn't want to call me Troy in front of fans or something. And Chris was like my little brother. The shucks little brother. You'd jump on him for doing something stupid, and he'd give you that shucks routine. And I miss him dearly every day, and I think the wrestling business misses them even more because they were both superb in-ring performers and great guys.
Now, obviously, Bammer and Candido, both Jersey boys, and that's kind of how they met and how they got together. Obviously, you guys had quite a great relationship. What do you think of, I don't even kind of how to word it, it's weird, but do you have a favorite member of the Triple Threat? Is there one over the other, or is everybody equal? Did you kind of like Bammer and Chris the same? Because you said, Chris is kind of like a younger brother. But is there a way to kind of choose or pick?
No, of that incarnation, the three of us, Bam Bam was more of a loner. So, when we would go to a town, for instance, Bam Bam would always stay at a different hotel and always sort of stay to himself. He would take his phone off the hook or disconnect the ringer on the phone so you couldn't even call him. But we would tell him, hey, we're going to pick you up at this time or that time or whatever. And, Chris and I would go and hang out. So Chris and I had much more of a personal relationship on a day-to-day basis. But that was just Bam Bam's way. Bam Bam, it wasn't like he was blowing us off to go hang out with somebody else. That was just Bam Bam. Scott liked to stay to himself and do his own thing. And a lot of that had to do with his health issues. I think he was working overtime to try to conceal the fact that he was diabetic, and by and large was able to do that. In fact, I only found that out after we were in Orlando. I dropped him off at his hotel, and several hours later, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, he called me and asked me to take him to an all-night pharmacy. And he came out with a whole bag of stuff. And when he put it on the bed, we walked into his room and he put it on the bed and the bag spilled over, and I saw the insulin syringes and stuff fall out. And sort of sheepishly, he looked at me and said, "Please don't tell anybody." And I said, "Bam, you're not to worry about me, brother." And I've never spoken about that publicly until well after his death. That was his personal information, and so no, I didn't have a closer relationship with either one, although Chris and I had a much more personal relationship just because we spent a lot more time together.